a marvelous steel and glass structure, half a kilometer long. This was the only construction in history that had so much volume enclosed within such a little mass. A glass house of uncommon common sense blown up to extraordinary dimensions. Crystal Palace, the lost masterpiece. 1849 Exposition of French Industry, a public event organized in Paris, France. Henry Cole, who was from England, was there too. He was fascinated by large buildings exhibiting mighty French industry. Seeing the grandeur of the expo, he got an idea. Why not they hold the exhibition in London? This way, a dying Royal Society of Arts can revive, of which he was the member. The Royal Society of Arts was founded in 1754 and had a lot of achievements. However, a century later, by 1840, this prestigious institution was in a state of decline. In despair, they requested to Prince Albert to join a society as president. Fortunately, he agreed and joined in 1843. For Cole, the idea of having world's biggest exhibition revoked the possibility to revive the society financially. While traveling back from Paris, Cole met Thomas Cubitt in a train, who was also returning from the expo. Cubitt was a big contractor of that time and was doing the extension of Queen Victoria's country house. Seeing the opportunity, Cole planted the idea in Cubitt's mind that an exhibition held under Prince Albert's leadership in London could be an inspiration to the world. London 51 would outshine the Paris 49. Cubitt later recounted the whole conversation to the prince. Within a fortnight, the president of society, Prince Albert, decided to risk his reputation by backing London 51 to be held at Hyde Park. The society gave an initial estimate of £100,000, and to collect the fund, a commission was made under the leadership of Prince Albert. Building committee was quickly formed with Matthew White as secretary. White was a British architect who later became a secretary of the Royal Institute of British Architects. Apart from this, he served as surveyor for the East India Company. The 20-acre Hyde Park was soon taken on lease for 2 years. The committee called for proposals for the design of a building for London 51. The building was to be fireproof, cheap in cost per cubic volume, and erectable in weeks rather than years, and then removed, leaving the site and trees as before. Over 250 building designs arrived by April 1850. It is difficult today to imagine what the building committee expected from the competition. With grandiose intentions, little time, less money, and arriving at the right design was a difficult task. They had already declared that exhibition would be opened on May Day 1851, the very next year. After analyzing the plans from competition, they concluded that the entries finally selected were costing more than £300,000, 3 times the original budget. No winner was announced. With only 9 months left, the building committee now began to panic. In haste, they decided to design the building by themselves with the help of architect Thomas Donaldson, who was also a member of the committee. After a month's time, the design was finalized with Secretary White, who was coordinating the project. The gigantic structure with 200 feet dome on top required 17 million bricks, which would become almost valueless after demolition. However, the committee was astonishingly proud of its badly designed and impractical proposal. The whole of England was talking about its impracticality and ugliness. The rumors became a reality when its design was made public by the Illustrated London News on 22nd June 1850. Professionals were also against the unethical act of the society of rejecting the competition designs. After this incident, Prince Albert wrote privately to the society, "We are on the point of having to abandon the exhibition altogether." It became a big issue, and to deal with public opinion, a furious House of Commons was going to vote on 4th July on its decision on the exhibition. Suddenly, a new man entered the scene, Joseph Paxton. He came to London for railway business, and while talking to John Ellis, who was also a member of building committee, Paxton said that he had some thoughts on a design that would solve the difficulties of the present design. Ellis knew Paxton and his capabilities quite well and recognized the value of his remarks. He took him to Cole. Cole was impressed by Paxton's suggestions and asked Paxton to take up the project and build it. Paxton promised that he would provide the scheme within 9 days. Born in 1801, Paxton started his career as a gardener and then started designing landscape structures, including the greenhouses. Soon he became a well-known designer and contractor. He had made many superb structures of steel and glass. Charles Dickens was his close friend. 9 days later, Paxton made a presentation of his scheme to the committee and finally to the Royal Commission. Paxton's conviction was so strong that Prince Albert said to him personally, "Paxton, go forth into Hyde Park, take glass and iron and beauty wedding strength, produce the Industrial Hall of Nations." Now who would make it? And at what cost? 19 bids were received for the Paxton's design, and the lowest was from Fox Henderson and Company for £168,000, with a refund of £27,000 if the material is given back to the contractor after the exhibition is over. Paxton and Fox, with their team, worked for 15 days for 18 hours a day and completed all the drawings with the tender document, including the quantities and cost. The building was 600 meters long, 150 meters wide and 8 stories high, unimaginable scale at the time. The structure was supposed to be completed by first week of January 1851 so that the exhibitors could put up their displays. There were only 20 weeks left. There were no machines and 90% of power used was muscle power. Scaffolding was omitted and all the parts of building were managed that they fulfill the purpose. About 300,000 panes of glass were used, totaling up to 400 tons in weight. It was 1/3 of the total annual glass production of Britain that time. Craftsmen were working in wet winter. There was no waiting for fine weather nor for drying out. Daily, as much size of glass roofing was put in place as to cover a good-sized railway station. Everything was done on site and the workforce were toiling like ants. On 30th January, the building was almost complete structurally and the exhibitors started flowing in. The painting and finishing of some details was in progress. Just few days before the exhibition, the canvas and other exterior scaffoldings were removed, and finally on 1st May 1851, the exhibition was opened. The spectacular structure built by Paxton and his team certainly was the cause of the grandeur of the event. It was awe-inspiring for the visitors and was great success in the history of the World Expo. Sadly, that year, Royal Institute of British Architects did not award its architectural award to Paxton or Fox, but gave it instead to Donaldson for the exhibition design, the man who was responsible for the committee's aborted design. The citation stated that Paxton only proposed the mode and form. On Saturday, 11th October 1851, the great exhibition closed, making a net profit of £186,000. During the exhibition, public opinion was to retain the building, but Prince Albert was against, and so was the Parliament. Paxton, who was closely associated with this building, filed a petition for retaining it, and Parliament granted a stay till 1st May 1852 for a debate. It was again media who criticized the building. The media pronounced against the building, saying it was occupying public property and it was full speech of modern vandalism. The public changed its mind and so did the ministers. On 29th April, Parliament voted for its removal, a death sentence to this masterpiece. The structure was dismantled in August 1852. Fascinatingly, despite its immense popularity and talismanic appeal, there was no public outcry. Perhaps it had to go. An instinctive, if unexpected, sigh of relief was heaved. Crystal Palace was one of the most influential buildings ever erected. It takes its place with a handful of other buildings such as Pantheon, Hagia Sophia and St. Peter's. We wonder at power of hallucinations.